No, for there may not be enough for us and you. So today, I want to preach about just this basic challenge for us when hearing this parable. We've probably heard the parable before, but the question, why wouldn't the wise virgins share with the foolish ones? I mean, thinking just about the golden rule, do unto others as you'd have them to do to you. And Jesus talks about the great commandment of love the Lord your God with all your heart and your neighbor as yourself. So these young girls have spent the night together. They're looking forward to the wedding. Some of them haven't planned well, but that's what friends are for, right? And so why not give them some of the oil? And yet Jesus seems to approve of the wise virgins' refusal to share their oil. So, and he locks out those without the burning lamps from the wedding feast. And the wedding feast is the kingdom of heaven. So why would he do that? It sounds like he's mean or something. Why would Jesus do that? So the first thing, I just want to kind of then just look at this parable and address that question. I think the first thing we have to understand is what does this oil represent that the virgins are carrying? So it's not a symbol of their material resources, their time, their friendship, their love. All these things indeed were meant to give away. Instead, I think of the oil as God's grace given to our souls, uniting our souls to him and making them burn brightly with God's light. That's what the oil stands for. And we see this parable has been incorporated into the Catholic baptism ritual. So when there's a baptism, Catholics or their godparents, if they're little kids, they're given a lighted candle and they're told by the priest, you have been enlightened by Christ, walk always as children of the light and keep the flame of faith alive in your hearts. When the Lord comes, may you go out to meet him with all the saints in the heavenly kingdom, like those wise virgins did. Right? So they kept the flame of faith alive in their hearts. They had enough oil. So when he came, and they didn't know when, he was delayed, they went out to greet him. Again, it's like saints in the heavenly kingdom. This is what the wedding feast is. So these lamps of the 10 virgins are like our baptismal candles, and they represent the state of grace that we receive at our baptism, the sharing in the life of God himself. And we're supposed to keep that flame alive in us. We're not supposed to let it go out due to serious sin, that whole idea of rejecting Lord. So again, that's the baptismal ritual and the scriptural basis for it. And it gives us a clue about what's going on here with Jesus and the parable. So return to the parable and the foolish virgins. Yeah, we're certainly called to be charitable to people. We're to show mercy. We're to sacrifice our own goods, our time. And even, again, that is Jesus' teaching. But it's not the point of the parable. This is not a parable about charity. So at this point, what he wants to say in the parable is that we cannot risk losing our own souls, our relationship with him, our salvation, in trying to, in foolish ways, help other people. We can't put our souls at risk. So we can't risk letting our candles go out, even for the sake of our companions in life, whom we may love. We should risk our wealth for them. We should risk our time. We lay down our lives for them, certainly. If we can, that would be fulfilling Christ's desire. But not to lose our souls. And the reason that is Jesus wants us to be saved. He wants our souls. He wants to be united with us. That's his will for us. And we can't go against his will. He wants us. And we have to maintain that relationship. So the basic moral principle here, sort of a fundamental reality of Catholic moral teaching, we cannot commit sin even for what we think is the good of somebody else. So the end never justifies the means when the means is sin, right? So you've probably heard that phrase before, the end never justifies the means. That's all about this idea of we can't sin to so help other people. Now, let me give you sort of some practical examples that I've come across in my own pastoral ministry of this principle in action. What does it mean to give away, or foolishly give away our oil, so to speak, to risk our candles going out? Something that happens fairly, it happens is, let's say, in this case, let's say a woman is in love with this guy, and she wants this relationship. She hopes to marry him. She thinks he might be the one. And she knows that they should not engage in premarital sex. She's heard about that. It is a serious sin against God's plan for them. It could endanger her soul. Remember her candle there. And yet the man doesn't understand any of that. He's not religious. He doesn't really get that at all. And he doesn't see anything wrong with sleeping together. That's what people do. This is America 2023. So there's that pressure, that social, relational pressure there. And she convinces herself it won't be that bad to go to bed with this guy, because after all, he might leave her. But also, if they marry, he might become Catholic. In fact, maybe if she does it, she'll end up saving him through the sin. She says it's going to work out. That's what sharing one's oil looks like. Or again, imagine a married couple, or maybe not a married couple, a couple. Let's say, and one spouse Catholic, the other one's not. This happens sometimes too. And let's say the non-religious wife refuses to go to the Catholic church with her Catholic husband and says, I'm not interested in that at all. Let's say she had bad experience with Catholics, or she's heard bad things about the Catholic Church. She wants nothing to do with this. But she knows he's religious, and so she, I'll go to a church with you, but it can't be the Catholic Church. Go someplace else or some other religion. I'll go with you, but not that. And the Catholic decides, I'll leave the Catholic faith, thinking at least she'll get going to some religion. Maybe I'll save her that way by walking away from the church. And again, this other church has lots of good stuff over here. I'll just not be a Catholic anymore. Again, that's sharing oil. Those are pretty big examples. What about, it applies to other cases as well, this principle. This happens regularly that, okay, good Catholic couple, but we invite other people to come over for the weekend. It's Sunday morning. We don't want to, if we go to Mass, is that kind of awkward? We're not being, really very hospitable. It's kind of rude. It might be even embarrassing. So I guess we just won't go to Mass this time, because what will we tell the other people? Or it's just not polite. So we'll skip the whole Sabbath, honoring God on the Sabbath thing. Or I like the white lies, the little white lie thing, where in that the title of white lies is kind of a clue that it's giving up oil. We're going to lie, but it's not going to be bad. It's going to be a white lie because we're going to make somebody feel good. They'll appreciate it. No, I can't tell them the truth. They ask me, but I'm just going to lie to them because, again, I'm going to help them out. You might think, well, that's a teeny little thing. Those are white lies. I do it all the time. Okay, but again, it's the principle, ends and means. I can't lie. I can't commit that sin just so, again, I think I'm going to help somebody. That's the sharing the oil thing. It's a challenge for us. And that's why this parable is kind of a challenge. So if we consider such sins at all, we may assume that we can always clear things up later with God. But another theme of the parable is that we don't know when the bridegroom's coming. The foolish virgins say, I think we got time enough to go to the merchant. It ends up they didn't. So the foolish virgins lose heaven because they literally get caught napping. We just don't know. So our relationship with Jesus, the life of supernatural grace, it's our greatest gift that we have from God. It lights our lamps. And our lives are meant to shine with that light our whole lives long. And you've known people the light does shine. So at our baptism, when we're told to keep the flame of faith alive in our hearts, and when the Lord comes, may you go out to meet him with all the saints in the heavenly kingdom, we're meant to remember this very parable. This is what he's talking about. This is what that baptismal experience, that's what the priest or deacon is saying and meaning when he says those words. So, again, in our own lives, we can always check things out and say, have I put this flame of faith at risk in some ways? I thought it was good reasons. I thought I had I thought it was probably what I should do, but was it really? So again, are we the wise? Or are we the foolish versions with the oil for our lamps?